Welcome to The Velvet Hush of the Cloud Shepherd, a calming and enchanting story designed to gently guide you towards restful sleep. If you find peace in this journey and wish to explore more tranquil tales, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Before we ascend to the Pastel Peaks and meet the serene Cloud Shepherd, we'll begin with a soothing breathing guidance to help you unwind and prepare for this peaceful adventure. If you'd prefer to journey directly to the Valley of Murmurs and begin the story, you can find chapter timestamps in the description below. Please settle into a comfortable position, allowing your body to relax completely. Feel the support beneath you, the gentle weight of your blankets, and the softness of your pillow. Let any tension melt away as you prepare to be enveloped by the velvet hush of the clouds. Imagine the pastel-colored skies above the Valley of Murmurs, the soft lavender grass brushing against your skin, and the gentle vanilla scent of mountain blossoms carried on the breeze. Allow these images to fill your mind with tranquility and peace. Now let's take a calming breath together. Gently inhale through your nose, drawing in the pure mountain air. Feel your chest and abdomen softly expand, filling with a sense of lightness and ease. Hold for a moment, and then exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing any lingering worries or tension like a soft sigh. Imagine the gentle chime of Silverbell trees with each exhale, each note carrying away stress and inviting serenity into your being. Feel a wave of warmth spreading through your body with each breath, melting away any tightness. If your thoughts begin to drift, that's perfectly natural. Simply acknowledge them gently, like watching clouds drift across the pastel sky, and then softly guide your attention back to your breath or the sound of my voice. There is nothing you need to do now but relax and allow the story to carry you to a place of profound stillness. Feel the gentle rhythm of the clouds drifting overhead, the steady, peaceful pulse of the Pastel Peaks. Let this rhythm lull you into a state of deep relaxation and prepare you for a night of restful sleep. Now, let us begin our journey to meet the Cloud Shepherd and discover the velvet hush that brings peace to the Valley of Murmurs. Chapter 1. Whispers of the Valley. In the Valley of Murmurs, nestled between rolling green hills, life unfolded with a gentle rhythm, yet a subtle unease permeated the air. It wasn't a valley of discord, but rather one where the collective anxieties of its inhabitants hung like a soft, persistent mist. Seline, a kind soul with eyes that reflected the tranquil sky, felt this unease deeply. She moved through the village, her footsteps light on the cobblestone paths, but the unspoken worries of her neighbors seemed to cling to her like morning dew on spiderwebs. The scent of freshly baked bread wafted from the bakery, a comforting aroma, yet even it seemed tinged with a hint of apprehension, as if the bakers kneaded their worries into the dough. The laughter of children playing in the village square, usually a melody of pure joy, was often punctuated by hesitant pauses, as if even their innocent hearts carried a shadow of concern. Seline longed to soothe this pervasive anxiety, to bring a sense of lasting peace to the valley she loved. Seeking respite, Seline often retreated to the Whispering Falls, a cascade of clear water that tumbled down moss-covered rocks at the valley's edge. The sound of the falling water, a constant gentle murmur, usually offered a temporary balm to her troubled spirit. She would sit on a smooth, sun-warmed stone beside the pool, tracing patterns in the cool water with her fingers. The rhythmic flow a momentary distraction from the valley's collective unease. The air around the falls was always fresh and damp, carrying the earthy scent of moss and ferns, and the sweet perfume of wildflowers that grew in abundance along the banks. Dragonflies with iridescent wings danced above the water's surface, their delicate forms of fleeting beauty against the backdrop of the ancient rocks. For a time, surrounded by this natural serenity, Seline could almost forget the worries of the valley. Yet, as dusk began to settle, painting the sky in hues of soft lavender and rose, the valley's anxieties would invariably creep back in. The shadows grew longer, and with them came a subtle intensification of the unspoken fears, like whispers carried on the evening breeze. Even the gentle murmur of the falls seemed to soften, as if hushed by the growing unease. One evening, as Seline sat by the falls, an old village elder, Maeve, approached, her steps slow but steady. Maeve, with her eyes like ancient pools reflecting starlight, had lived through many seasons in the valley. She carried an air of quiet wisdom, her presence itself a calming influence amidst the valley's restlessness. She settled beside Seline on the sun-warmed stone, the scent of dried herbs and wood smoke clinging to her woolen shawl. Maeve spoke in a voice as soft as the rustling leaves, sharing tales of the cloud shepherd, a figure woven into the valley's folklore, a being said to reside in the Pastel Peaks beyond the hills. Legend whispered that the shepherd possessed a staff imbued with the magic of tranquility, capable of releasing a velvet hush that could soothe even the most troubled hearts. Seline listened, her heart stirring with a flicker of hope, a seed of possibility planted in the fertile ground of her longing for peace. As Maeve's words faded into the evening air, the stars began to emerge, tiny diamonds scattered across the darkening velvet sky. Seline looked towards the distant hills, their peaks barely visible in the twilight, and imagined the Pastel Peaks, the home of the cloud shepherd. The thought of such a place, a sanctuary of tranquility, filled her with a quiet determination. Perhaps, she mused, the legend held more than just whispers of hope. Perhaps it held a path towards the peace the Valley of Murmurs so desperately needed, and the inner calm she herself yearned to find. Chapter 2. The Ascent to Pastel Peaks. With the first light of dawn painting the eastern sky in soft strokes of apricot and gold, Seline began her journey towards the Pastel Peaks. Leaving the familiar paths of the Valley of Murmurs, she ventured onto a trail that wound gently upwards, beckoning her towards the horizon. The air was crisp and cool, carrying the invigorating scent of pine and damp earth, a welcome change from the ever-present unease of the valley. The path was lined with fields of lavender grass, their delicate stalks swaying softly in the morning breeze. As Seline walked, the tips of the grass brushed against her ankles, a gentle, soothing touch that seemed to ease the lingering tension in her muscles. The color of the grass was a soft, calming purple, a hue that evoked a sense of peace and tranquility, like the twilight sky just before night fully descends. She soon entered a grove of silverbell trees, their slender branches adorned with countless tiny silver bells. A gentle breeze stirred through the grove, and the bells began to chime, creating a delicate ethereal melody that filled the air. Each note was clear and pure, like droplets of crystalline water, ringing out in harmonious resonance, a symphony of peace echoing through the tranquil grove. The sunlight filtered through the leaves of the silverbell trees, dappling the forest floor in shimmering patterns of light and shadow. The ground beneath her feet was soft and springy, covered in a thick carpet of moss, its velvety texture a delight to the touch. The air grew lighter and sweeter as she ascended, carrying the faint, delicate scent of vanilla and mountain blossoms, a fragrance as gentle and inviting as a whispered promise. As she climbed higher, the landscape began to unfold before her, revealing breathtaking vistas of rolling hills and verdant valleys bathed in the soft morning light. The Valley of Murmurs, now receding behind her, appeared as a peaceful tapestry of green and gold, its anxieties softened by distance and the rising sun. Seline paused to look back, taking a deep breath of the pure mountain air, feeling a sense of lightness and liberation she hadn't known in the valley. She passed a small, clear stream, its water sparkling like liquid diamonds as it tumbled over smooth stones. The sound of the flowing water was a constant, soothing murmur, a gentle counterpoint to the delicate chimes of the silverbell trees. She cupped her hands and drank from the stream, the water cool and refreshing, tasting of pure mountain spring and a hint of sweetness. Continuing her ascent, Seline felt a growing sense of calm settle within her. The worries of the valley seemed to fade further with each step, replaced by a quiet anticipation and a gentle hope. The journey itself was not one of hardship or struggle, but rather a peaceful unfolding, a gentle progression towards a destination that promised serenity. With each upward step, she felt herself moving further away from the anxieties of the valley and closer to the tranquility she sought. The Pastel Peaks, still distant but now more clearly defined against the pastel sky, beckoned her onward, promising the velvet hush of the cloud shepherd and the potential for lasting peace, both for herself and for the valley she had left behind. Chapter 3. Encounters in the Azure Meadow. Emerging from the Silverbell Grove, Seline found herself in the Azure Meadow, a wide expanse bathed in a soft pastel light that seemed to emanate from the very air itself. The meadow stretched out before her, a sea of gently swaying grasses in hues of soft blue and lavender, interspersed with clusters of delicate star-shaped flowers in shades of pink and white. The overall effect was one of ethereal beauty and profound tranquility. Gentle cloud lambs grazed peacefully in the meadow, their forms seemingly sculpted from pure, soft cloud. Their wool was as white as freshly fallen snow and appeared to be as light and airy as dreams themselves. They moved with a slow, graceful serenity, their soft bleating a gentle, comforting sound that blended seamlessly with the whisper of the wind through the grasses. In the heart of the meadow, Seline noticed a small, moss-covered cottage, its roof thatched with bundles of soft cloud-like grass. Smoke gently curled from its chimney, carrying the sweet, inviting scent of baking herbs and honey. A figure emerged from the cottage, their movements as gentle and unhurried as the cloud lambs themselves. This was the Meadow Keeper, a guardian of this peaceful place. The Meadow Keeper welcomed Seline with a warm, gentle smile, their eyes reflecting the serene blue of the meadow sky. They offered Seline a seat on a smooth, moss-covered log outside the cottage and presented her with a warm cup of honeyed cloud milk. The milk was as light and airy as promised, its taste subtly sweet and incredibly soothing, leaving a feeling of gentle warmth spreading through Seline's body. As Seline sipped the cloud milk, the Meadow Keeper shared stories of the cloud shepherd, their voice soft and melodic, like the gentle murmur of a stream. They spoke of the shepherd's profound connection to the clouds and their ability to bring tranquility to the skies and the lands below. They explained that the shepherd's staff was not a tool of power, but an instrument of peace, capable of releasing the velvet hush. The Meadow Keeper encouraged Seline to listen to the whispers of the wind, to feel the gentle touch of the cloud lamb's wool, and to observe the serene beauty of the Azure meadow. They explained that peace was not something to be found in grand gestures, but in the quiet observation of the world around and in the stillness within oneself. They showed Seline how to gently stroke the soft wool of a cloud lamb, the texture incredibly comforting and grounding. As the afternoon sun began to soften, casting long pastel shadows across the meadow, the Meadow Keeper pointed towards a faint path leading higher into the peaks, towards the shepherd's sanctuary. They assured Seline that the wind would guide her, and that the peace she sought was closer than she imagined. They offered her a small pouch filled with dried lavender and Silverbell seeds, tokens of tranquility for her journey. With a heart filled with gratitude and renewed hope, Seline bid farewell to the Meadow Keeper and the serene Azure meadow. She followed the faint path, the scent of lavender, and the gentle chime of the Silverbell seeds in her pouch accompanying her, feeling the peaceful essence of the meadow lingering within her, guiding her steps towards the cloud shepherd and the promise of the velvet hush. Chapter 4. The Shepherd's Sanctuary. Following the wind's gentle direction, guided by the subtle scent of mountain herbs and the faint chime of Silverbell seeds, Seline ascended further into the Pastel Peaks. The path became narrower, winding through rocky outcrops softened by cushions of emerald moss and patches of velvety lichen. The air grew even purer, carrying a refreshing coolness and the delicate fragrance of high-altitude blossoms. She reached a secluded plateau nestled amongst the highest peaks, a place of profound quietude and breathtaking serenity. This was the shepherd's sanctuary. It was not a grand structure, but rather a naturally formed hollow in the mountainside, sheltered by overhanging rocks and softened by an abundance of moss and flowering vines. Sunlight streamed in from the east, bathing the sanctuary in a warm golden glow, while the air remained cool and still. Within the sanctuary, Seline saw the cloud shepherd, tending to their flock of pastel clouds. The shepherd moved with a slow, deliberate grace, their presence radiating an aura of deep peace and tranquility. They wore robes of woven cloud silk, shimmering in soft pastel hues, and their staff, made of polished moonstone, rested gently against a moss-covered rock. The clouds themselves were unlike any Seline had ever seen, soft and luminous, in shades of pale rose, gentle blue and creamy white. They drifted and swirled around the sanctuary, their movements as fluid and peaceful as the shepherd's. The only sound was the gentle murmur of a crystalline spring that trickled through the sanctuary, its water sparkling like liquid starlight. Seline approached the shepherd slowly, her footsteps light on the mossy ground. The shepherd turned, their eyes the color of a twilight sky, meeting Seline's with a gaze of gentle understanding and welcome. There was no need for words. A sense of calm and acceptance washed over Seline, as if she had finally arrived at a place she was always meant to be. The shepherd gestured for Seline to sit on a soft cushion of moss beside the spring. The water's murmur was soothing and hypnotic, its coolness radiating a refreshing energy. The air in the sanctuary was still and pure, imbued with a palpable sense of profound serenity, a stillness that seemed to settle deep within Seline's own heart. The shepherd spoke, their voice as soft and gentle as the whisper of clouds, sharing not secrets or grand pronouncements, but rather simple truths about inner stillness. They explained that the velvet hush was not a magic to be wielded, but a state of being to be cultivated, a quiet resonance with the peace that already existed within and around. They showed Seline how to listen to the quiet rhythms of her own breath, her own heart, her own mind, to find the stillness at her core. As the sun began to dip below the peaks, casting long, soft shadows across the sanctuary, Seline sat in quiet contemplation with the cloud shepherd. She felt the anxieties that had burdened her in the Valley of Murmurs begin to dissolve, replaced by a growing sense of inner peace and understanding. The velvet hush, she realized, was not something external to be sought, but an internal state to be awakened, a gentle stillness waiting to be embraced. Chapter 5. The Velvet Hush and the Valley's Peace. With the wisdom of the cloud shepherd resonating within her, Seline began her descent from the Pastel Peaks, carrying the seed of inner stillness in her heart. The journey down was gentle and peaceful, bathed in the soft golden light of the late afternoon sun. The landscape seemed to shimmer with a newfound serenity, reflecting the tranquility growing within her. As she neared the Valley of Murmurs, she noticed a subtle shift in the air. The usual undercurrent of anxiety seemed diminished, replaced by a lighter, calmer atmosphere. The sounds of the valley, the rustling leaves, the flowing stream, the distant voices, all seemed softer, gentler, imbued with a newfound peacefulness. She entered the valley as dusk began to settle, painting the sky in hues of soft lavender and rose, mirroring the colors of the Pastel Peaks. As she walked through the village, she observed her neighbors, their faces appearing more relaxed, their movements less hurried. The air itself seemed to hum with a quiet harmony, a gentle resonance of peace. Unconsciously, as Seline walked, a subtle emanation of calm radiated from her, a quiet stillness that spread outwards like ripples on a still pond. The clouds above the Valley of Murmurs, sensing this shift in energy, responded in kind. They began to release a gentle, ethereal hush, a velvet silence that descended softly over the valley, enveloping it in a blanket of tranquility. The velvet hush was not a complete silence, but rather a muffling of the anxieties, a softening of the worries, a gentle stilling of the restless thoughts that had plagued the valley. It was a peaceful quietude that allowed for deeper listening, for calmer reflection, for a profound sense of ease and contentment to settle in. Villagers emerged from their homes, drawn by the unexpected peace that had descended. They looked at each other with soft smiles, their eyes reflecting a shared sense of wonder and relief. The children, instead of their usual boisterous play, sat quietly together, gazing at the pastel sky, their faces serene and content. The air was filled with a gentle stillness, a palpable sense of collective peace. Seline watched, her heart filled with quiet joy. She realized that the Cloud Shepherd's gift was not just for her, but for the entire valley. By seeking inner peace herself, she had inadvertently helped to bring peace to her community. The velvet hush, she understood, was not a magical enchantment, but a natural consequence of collective calm, a reflection of inner stillness projected outwards. As night deepened and the stars emerged in the velvet sky, the Valley of Murmurs lay bathed in a profound and lasting peace. The gentle murmur of the falls, now joined by the soft whisper of the velvet hush, became a lullaby for the valley, a soothing symphony of tranquility that promised restful sleep and a future filled with serene contentment. Seline, watching over her peaceful valley, knew that the velvet hush once discovered within could always be found, a gentle refuge in the heart of every soul and a blessing for all.